I'm Kim Crabill, and so delighted to be with you. Well, today I have invited back to our program someone who is tackling an issue that seems so overwhelming that most of us tell ourselves we cannot possibly make a difference. And though it's a subject not any of us would like to discuss, Craig Sawyer has made this his mission and is here to show us ways that we not only can, but that we must work to make a difference. When we return, Craig, a former Navy SEAL and founder of Veterans for Child Rescue, will be with us to talk about what his nonprofit has documented as the fastest growing and largest criminal enterprise in the world, child trafficking. But also how we can be the light in this darkness and bring big hope in small, everyday ways. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. It's so good to be back with you for another season. And, I wanted to start out the season on a very hopeful note. And as I was thinking about that, I thought about a guest from a previous session. And Craig, you just came to my mind. I think about the world and the things that are going on in our world and the ways that we can make a difference. And what you do is something that I think that we all can jump into and make a difference. It is, like I said, we think that it's kind of dark, but it's really, there's a lot of hope. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me on. It's a privilege.
Absolutely. And so, one of the things that I failed to do last time when you were here was I really failed to just thank you for your service. And I felt so bad about that. So thank you. And let's talk about that for just a minute, because you have dedicated your life to the military, so in a big way. So share just a little bit about that with us.
Well, I wanted to serve my country and stop the worst evil I could identify, which was counterterrorism at the time, international counterterrorism. So I served in the Marine Corps and the SEAL teams. I worked my way all the way to the highest level of counterterrorist operations at SEAL Team 6. And then I went into federal law enforcement, did 5 years there, again in the counterterrorism side, and then in the diplomatic security service overseas, and then in the intelligence community, protecting their people in the war zones. And so all in protection of our freedom and sanctuary of peace, liberty here.
God must have created you with just a bundle of courage. That's all I know. It would take a lot of courage to do that, and we just honor you and thank you, and also your family, because it really is a family thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't do this without support at home,
right,
and not do it well,
right,
and feel like you're okay.
Right.
And I didn't realize until years later my wife was crying, and whenever she would let me go, but she sent me away with a strong face, and I felt like everything was solid at home, and that was a gift.
Yes, and I think in this day and time we need to lift up our military and really be appreciative of what they're doing every opportunity that we can. So
yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much. Well, and I remember the last show you said that some of that was really in preparation for what you're doing now.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to show a short video, and then we're going to talk about where God has you now. So let's watch this, and we'll be right back.
So this is
Okay, we're running a sting operation, and we've just had one of our chatters identify a predator. He is coming for her, and so she's made a prearranged designation for him to do that. It's a corner store. He's coming there. He thinks she's meeting him on foot. He believes she's 15 years old. The thing is, when he gets there, law enforcement are going to take him down.
That's them, move. That's it. Move, move, move. Red vehicle, sedan, 4-door.
Wow, Craig, that's tell us what just happened in this organization, where you find yourself right now, because you're on the battle lines.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we're trying to express to the American people what's going on out there. And when we run joint operations with federal and local law enforcement, typically we run sting operations, and the predators come for children. They come to abuse them in different ways. And they incriminate themselves in the process, and we put them in prison with a 100% conviction rate for doing so. And what you saw there was a sting operation with law enforcement, and the predators were coming to have sex with minors in different ways. And two of those that you saw there were actually coming, law enforcement believed, to abduct the children and sell them and traffic them. So we've got to arrest them to show the people what's really going on out there, because it's hard for us to believe that people would hunt children and harm them on an industrial scale. So we're showing them what they can't believe unless they're seen with their own two eyes.
It's really hard for the mind to comprehend such evilness, but you see it firsthand, and thank God you're doing something about it. But I want to break this down for just a minute for our friends who are listening that maybe haven't had the opportunity to know a lot about this. Just explain to us, what is child trafficking?
Yeah, well, people will seemingly do anything to make a buck, and they'll sell anything, and they'll sell children. Human slavery is not a new thing. Child slavery is not a new thing, but it seems to be growing more prevalent now. There are so many criminal elements, from the high-end elite all the way down to the gutter pedophiles selling children, even children selling each other and themselves in some cases. So there's all these manners of harm, but child trafficking is essentially selling a child against their will for some sort of act, and almost always at the detriment of the child. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth money to the predator. So it's the selling of children for sex and sometimes slave labor.
You know, and you mentioned children selling children. It's that learned behavior. It's that generational curse of what we begin to do, what we see. And so someone has to step in and break that cycle, which is what you're doing. But you mentioned another word there. You talked about the prevalence of it. Why are these people doing this? And it isn't just people on the back streets, like you said. It's prominent people. But why?
Well, there's so many reasons, Kim, and one is political leverage. We know of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And why are the client lists not coming out from that? Well, these people enjoy a lot of top cover and protection, even though they are predators and they're harming the little ones. But in blackmailing each other in the intelligence community, capturing each other on video, committing acts of crime against children, child rape, they can use that as leverage to hold over that political figure or elected official for the rest of their lives. And so that's one thing. And then the financial revenue is another thing.
Tell us about that, because when I read the statistics and the money, I was just blown away. What you mentioned about the money equivalent to sports?
Yeah. Before we essentially abandon our border security in the United States, it was estimated at $38 to $50 billion a year criminal revenue selling children inside the United States. So they don't know what that number is now, but it's wide open.
Right.
And so if it's closer to 50 billion or higher, that's more than all pro sports combined in annual revenue.
Right.
So how many children are being harmed for it to be worth that amount of money in a criminal enterprise?
And we've got to remember, you know, it's our children, it's our grandchildren, and your statistics show, you know, it's in every neighborhood. It's not in selected parts. And so, you know, to really bring it home and make it real to us. And I remember something else, Craig, that you said that stuck in my mind, is that it's not like drugs where you consume it and it's gone. With children,
yeah, they sell the children repeatedly. Some of them, we're hearing horror stories of children being raped 20, 30 times in a 24-hour period. I mean, that's not okay for an adult, let alone a small child that's so pure and innocent and susceptible. And the trauma goes so deep, it's just life-shattering for those that do survive it physically, because many take their own lives or they die of abuse.
Yes.
So it's tragic, but the good news is we can do something about it. And each of us has a voice and a will.
Yes.
And if we change our educational system and our legislation to be more protective, we can turn this around, because this is a cultural thing that essentially, by saying, oh, I just can't go there, we are allowing, because it's happening. And just because we can't visit it emotionally and face it doesn't mean it's going to go away. We have to rise up as the adults and push back on behalf of the little ones.
And I have to be honest, when I first started reading all this, you know, that was my response. I mean, I just have to be honest, like, oh, I can't, it's too much. I can't breathe. And then I began to pray about it. And you know, it was like God was saying, you know, if you're turning your eye against people who really need, you know, your voice of hope. You are turning your back on these little ones, and it just captured my heart. And that's when I said, you know, what can we do? And that's what you're doing, Craig. And that, you know, so let's go back to what we just saw, you know, with the rescue, and let's back that up, because none of us want to have to go there. So we can back it up, right?
Well, yes, we can, but I want to speak to your moral courage. You said you prayed about it.
Yeah.
How many people are not praying for that moral courage to find their voice and speak out and denounce this and rebuke it and bring about a safer world for children? So I respect you for that. If there was more of that, there would be a lot less children in harm's way. So we can push this back. Yes, ma'am.
I think so too, and I think that's one of the reasons when I was praying over who to have on this season, you know, God said, you know, you were first, and I know I kept, you know, calling you so busy, and so thank you for doing this, because I do believe there is a lot of hope, and we can do something about it, and you have it in your brain to share with us. So let's just talk. And, you know, Craig, there are a lot of people. You know, we've talked to parents before, we've talked to teachers before, and today I think that the program can be geared toward, you know, like, what if there's a teen watching? But, oh, by the way, it's not just teens, though. What is the age? Let's talk about that. What is the age?
There are horror stories of infants having their diapers taken off to be abused and raped. So there's seemingly no limit to the depravity. Once someone's heart is full of evil and they're willing to harm a child for self-gratification or for political leverage or for financial revenue, it's seeming like there's no bottom to that pit.
It just breaks my heart. I just want to cry. It just makes you
I'm
want to get
I'm a hardened
fight.
combat veteran, and it brings me to my knees.
Yeah.
So and that's why I fight. But we must, if we're decent people. Evil prevails when good men do nothing, and good women do nothing.
Yes.
So let us
So we're
turn
doing
away
something.
no more.
Yes.
Yes,
we're doing something, and that's what this show is about. So let me ask you, is there what makes someone a target?
A lot of times it's having no strong father figure in the home, sadly. If you look at the way the family unit has been specifically targeted, there are reasons for that. And without unpacking all that, those are the families who are most targeted. The predators look for a child that's unprotected. Maybe mom's working multiple jobs and she's doing her level best, but there's no strong, masculine, strong father figure in the home. And that seems to be statistically who the predators are targeting, and it's tragic. But you know, now a fierce mommy can make her presence known and defend her child.
Yes.
But if she's overwhelmed, it's harder for her to do that.
So that even tells me, like right there, I think, okay, male school teachers are so important, male principals, male Sunday school teachers, any way that we, as men, can make your presence a strong Christian moral presence in the lives of those around them could make such a huge difference.
And it's just an awareness, and male or female, I don't think it really matters as long as there's that fierce heart to defend the little ones and that presence. It's harder for the predators to do their thing.
Yes. Okay, so we talk about grooming a lot. Explain to us what grooming is, especially to maybe the teen or young person who can be aware that maybe they can see the signs that maybe they are being groomed. So let's talk about that to someone so they can be more educated on, hey, this could be happening to me.
Yes, ma'am. Well, grooming is essentially a buttering up of the target. So if a child is being targeted for sexual abuse and exploitation, the predator is going to want to soften that child's resistance to that abuse or harm or sexual aggression. Children are not wired for sex. Their brains are not developed yet. They're not supposed to engage in that. It's not normal or natural to them, so they're repelled by it. Well, that repulsion has to be overcome for the predator to get them to cooperate to any degree.
Yes.
There are a lot of threats in the grooming. There are a lot of gifts and almost like a dating process, a befriending and this kind of thing. So it can be financial, it can be giving rides in a fancy car, or anything that a needy child seems to be susceptible to. That predator is going to try to read and then provide that void, that thing that the child is missing, and then put them in harm's way through
Is there
that.
almost like an isolation of trying to build a trust where like I'm the only one for you, they're really not, and kind
Sure.
of bring them out?
There's a lot of that. Yep, it's definitely part of it.
Make them feel like I am your best friend, I am the only one you can trust, and yeah, that's a common practice too. It's just, okay, so what is the time in a grooming period? I mean, I've heard a lot, is this true? I've heard a lot that that the predators will send in young boys or young girls, like they'll find out maybe they're working in a restaurant or a waitressing, and there's a grooming process that begins like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be in a seedy place. They will come to where the young people are, right?
There are many methods by which they do this. One is they refer to it as a bottom girl. It's a trafficked victim herself who's been in this for a while, but she's been kind of promoted within the rank structure of the child trafficking network,
Right.
and sent to go groom the younger children, or the fresh meat, if you will. It's
Right.
just a really dark
Yeah.
scene, but she will go and befriend and kind of start grooming the children for the predator or the predators or the pimp.
Right.
So that's one way that, if a child's a runaway and they're at a bus stop and some young lady comes up, oh, hey, we've got a place to hang out, and we'll give you food and shelter, and we're kind of like a little tribe and we take care of each other. That's one way that it happens a lot. So the
Because
next thing
every
you know,
teen, every young person wants to feel like they're part of a group. That's
Exactly.
one of those essential needs, to be a part of a group.
so if a child has come from a loving family with a strong relationship of a masculine father and a feminine mother and a God at the center of the household, that child's going to be loved and feel secure. They're not going to be nearly as susceptible to this, almost never targeted in that way. But it's the broken families and the child that's very needy and he's searching for something. He's hungry for that love that we all need when we're little. That's the susceptible one. That's the target that the groomers are all over them.
Yeah, absolutely.
terrible.
Okay, let's just say that I have a teenager. I always say teenager, but I know that it starts much younger. And I feel like that there's a grooming, there's something going on. What do I do? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who'll be watching this will be going, oh my, you're saying some things that are making me wonder. What would you do in a case like that? How do you communicate to a child, a teenager?
You have to just really get real and let them know the nature of the threat. And, we don't want to steal their joy and ruin their childhood, but at the same time, there's a certain level of awareness that they do deserve, and we have to provide that for them and say, hey, look, man, here are some tools, here's some information that you need to know, here's how predators stalk you through your phone and through these apps. Not everybody's who they claim to be online.
Yes.
Here's the nature of this predatory behavior in this industry out there. Beware of it.
Yes.
You think you're going to a photo shoot because someone says you're pretty. Let's see who they are and make sure you're okay.
Yes.
Mommy's going with you.
Yes.
Daddy's going with you, period.
Right.
Those kinds of things, and just cause them to be aware.
And we have to get to where we are that place with as parents. We're going with you, period.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do that. And the world is transitioning into a different type of parenting. I'm so old school, but I'm so thankful that I am. And I think that there's a what was it? Jim Elliott says, wherever you are, just be there. And I think as parents, we have to be there and be aware of what's going on.
And that takes a little bit of determination and focus these days. When we've got devices calling to us
Yes.
all around the clock, we have to take time and realize, let me be with my child
Yes.
and stay in the moment.
Yes.
And we almost have to retrain ourselves to do that.
Yes, retrain our brain, I always say, just to, like, this is my child. They're not going to be here that long. And really, Craig, I can't believe our time has gone by so quickly. We're going to take a break. And then when we come back, I want you to tell everyone about where they can go to get all this. You have compiled so much information, so many things about the warning signs and the apps to stay away from that everyone needs to know about and to share that information. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about that. And then I have one other thing I want you to do. I'd like for you to speak to the teens as a father. Maybe they don't have a dad, maybe they don't have that strong person in their life, and you could be a voice that just rings true in their ears at the time when they need it most. So would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be right back then. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Oh, I knew our time was going to go by so quickly, Craig, but thank you so much, because the hope in this is that we can do something about it if we know what to do.
Absolutely.
So before we go into how people can reach you, one of the things that I really want to ask you is, God designs my steps. He takes me where He wants me to go. And so how do I keep my eyes open for, like in the airport, are there things that I can look for that would make me think, oh, maybe that's a child that's been abducted or is being child trafficked? Are there any things that I can be looking for?
Oh, sure, especially in the restrooms for the ladies, but just be scanning and seeing the general countenance. Does that child look like they're happy and they're with their biological parents? If you see, it doesn't mean that it can't be an adopted child having a bad day, but if you're aware and you're looking for it, you'll see people that are escorting children that don't belong with them through airports and who knows where. So if you're just looking for that overall countenance of does that child look like that it belongs with those parents, and it's happy, loved child, that's a start, and then the rest of it you can unpack with the expensive cell phones and the different things that the trafficked children seem to have. That
you have on your website.
Yes,
so there's a good way to go right into where do people find you to get all this other information that you've accumulated?
Yes, ma'am. Our website is vets4childrescue.org, or there's a shorter version, V4CR.org.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for what you're doing. Now, here's what I'd like for you to do. There are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of young people that really maybe don't have that strong voice. And there was a strong voice in my life of my granddad, and his words rang true to me for so many years. What would you say that you would want to ring true with some of these teens or some of these kids that feel so lost that maybe are perfect targets?
Man. I would say to any of you out there, maybe you don't have a strong mother or father presence in your life, you are a child of the Most High. You are loved. You're special. Your Creator loves you more than any human is capable of. And you're not to sell yourself out, and you are not to be needy to a predator. And you deserve protection. You protect yourself. I would strongly encourage you, gain a relationship with your Creator. Just talk to Him. There's no fancy language. Just talk to Him like you're talking to your daddy, and realize that you are special, and protect yourself and maintain your dignity, because later on in life it'll be so important. So you are worthy. You are worthy, and realize it.
Thank you so much. I mean, we need to hear that over and over and over again. Our world is in a place where we're so confused, and it doesn't have to be. We just need strong people who are speaking strong words with love and compassion, so that they can have that God confidence they need to stand strong. And it is possible. You can stand strong with the prayer and knowing who you are. So to whom you belong to, your identity in Christ. Craig Sawyer, I think you're one of the bravest men I've ever met in my life. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You just mean the world to this world. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And before I go, I would like to present with you a bag of our new Rescue Roast coffee. And this is, all this goes to support our organization and our mission. So we appreciate you. And I thought, if I'm going to have coffee with Kim, I might as well bring some outstanding coffee.
Thank you so much. So can we get this on your website?
It's right on our site. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
it's fantastic.
I know it is. Thank you so much.
You're so very
We will
welcome.
be supporting this at our coffee events. Hey, listen, thank you seriously. And for all that you're doing and any way that we can ever help and support you. And I hope that our listeners, I know that they'll jump on your website. Friends, friends, we can do something about this. That's the hope.
Yes.
It can be
That's the truth.
overwhelming if we face it alone, but together we can make a big difference. So, friends, thank you so much for joining me, and I know that we all applaud Craig and all that he has done for us and what he continues to do for us. And now I just say to you, you know, we can't eradicate this big subject, but what we can do is we can continue the conversation about it. So I am asking you to talk to the people around you, share this website, let people know what's going on, and that they can, together we can make a difference. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time right here on Coffee. Bye, everybody.
And I've got the joy